Hello, it's Isaacs, and welcome back to another devlog! Hooray! Um, in this one, this is gonna be a devlog for Dungeon Krall. I am sorry, one more second. I am rehauling a crap ton of the, I'm basically doing a huge rehaul of the game systems. You see I have a little testing scene open right here where I'm doing things. Basically, if you watch the whole version 1 walkthrough showcase devlog I posted last, I showed all the code and script in there. And if you're any good at programming, you might have noticed how pretty much most of the code for the player and the enemies are in basically enemy script, big ass enemy script here, big ass player script here, and big ass character script here. Where basically a majority of the functionality between the main pillars, the player and the enemy, is working off of the inheritance of one script and then two scripts. So basically, the programming for the game is kind of backed into a corner where if I want to start scaling the game up, which has always been my intention, having everything work off of basically three scripts, bad idea. So, what I've been doing lately is going back into the game's functionality and adding in state machines and animation trees. So, and more composition. So I can just compare this is the old enemy, old skeleton enemy. You can see everything here compared to the new enemy, and you can see just how much more shit is just in the one enemy. Now, I kind of had the mindset that you want everything, you want there to be less in your scene thing here, because that means, the less stuff you have to put in for your game, that means it's more efficient, it's more optimized. Not always the case, because when you are making a big, scaled-up game, you're gonna have a crap ton of stuff everywhere. And when you want to start scaling things up, you can't have them be so compact like I did originally. So now, in stuff like Test Enemy, I've expanded a lot of stuff. So there's a health component now. I'm using my hitbox. I'm using a lot more hitboxes on stuff. The enemy's detection I put into its own component, and using I'm no longer using animated sprite. I'm now using the Sprite 2D's ability for animation in the using that in here and with the animation tree, which is fine and dandy. So yeah, this is that, and I'm making this as I just kind of wrapped up the player in this current state. Currently, let me show off. Currently, quite simple. Only able to attack each other. It kind of shows the health in there. Nothing else right now. There's only the moving states and going in between. But the attack, I'll run through everything. Doing this, I started with the enemy because I thought it'd be a little easier. Kind of was, kind of wasn't. Well, starting with the enemy made me put the player together super easy. Now that I'm actually starting to understand state machines. For this purpose of the video, I guess I'll go in a minute and explain what a state machine is. So basically, this is from a tutorial because I'm just learning state machines, so I'm still getting YouTube tutorials. I might comment which tutorial I got it from, maybe if I remember. But basically, what this does is that we get a dictionary and we fill it up with whatever states we want to put our character into. And we basically have functionality to set up all the states in the dictionary. We have an initial state, so the first state the character goes into. This is the old one. The first one they go into, and then we have processing for updating those states and a thing to transition between states. So we enter. So if we get a new state, check if the state is actually null or not. Lowercase, it's capitalization to just make programming easier. Check if it's the same state or not, if the states are different. Exit the old one, enter the new one into this, which is just basically here for entering, exiting, updating in physics into our this. So like if we want to update the physics for the state, it goes into our process here and physics update here. So basically, this is kind of in contrast to what I was doing originally. And like you see, I use states and stuff here, but I'm using like enumerators and stuff instead, where I'm doing it basically entirely in code, where like all of it's in code, and I'm checking between update action state and surface state and stuff. Now, what I'm doing now, I'm still using. I can delete this. This doesn't do anything now. But I'm still using the surface state for ground detection and for determining whether I'm on the stairs mainly or not. I'm still using that, but for mainly the action states and stuff, what the state machine will let me do is, and in combination with the animation tree, it'll let me add new things the player or the enemy can do significantly easier. Because basically, all I have to do is add a new node onto here, name it, and then make a new script. And all the new behavior I want to happen can be put into a new script and just kind of added onto there. And if I want the new animations for it too, then I chalk it into our animation tree, and we can use, if you see here, we're using the advanced expressions for the state machines. And depending on our current state, we flip between which animations and which states we're using. Which is important because stuff like the attacking, like the actual attack and stuff, the hitbox and stuff shows up during the animation. So I can, one good thing of using the Sprite 2D instead is I can actually decide which exact frame it switches to instead of the animated Sprite 2D before, which I was just kind of approximating. But yeah, I can decide more specific stuff here with the animation player is great for animating stuff. And then the animation tree, depending on the state we're in, go between them. And then I can code where if I want to go between states, depending on each one I make, is I can exactly program when I want a state to go into and transition to another one. So rather than having a bunch of if statements and checking between a bunch of code, we're still kind of doing that, but it's now a lot more spread out and a lot more, well, scalable. It means that adding a lot more new and bigger systems can get more easily slotted in by just adding a new script, a new state into the machine. So I can make the machine bigger and I can make the game bigger using a state machine a lot easier. So that is because this is a game I plan to update throughout the years. Actually scale upwards. So using a state machine is my best way to do that. That's kind of my explanation of how it works. I'm not going super into detail, but it's effectively what it does. So as for the code, yeah. So more, I guess, more on this. Like for our animation players are simple. You know, we just kind of put in what frames we want when there. The animation tree, like we said, depending on our exact specific information. So basically, like in our roam state, I showed this off before. Like all this stuff was in my enemy script before, but now like, you see how long the script is and all the crap. Now my new enemy script is a lot more concise and cleaner to look at. So basically, what's kind of happening with the animations is two things. One, we're doing like our roaming behavior or our chasing behavior or stuff for the attack behavior. Here, that's half of it. So the other half of our animation tree is like, the animation tree will only go between things depending on which specifications we have between states. So the other half is the actual specifics in these nodes are blend space 1Ds here. Or the blend space 1D. What these do is based off of, in the main script, I don't know, up to animation, based off of a set variable we put in here for those blend positions, we can set which animation we want. So rather than before, where we would get, you see, we're kind of doing a semblance of what we're doing before, where depending on which direction we're looking down in, like we're still doing that here in our surface state, depending on whether we're on the floor or we're airborne or we're on the stairs, and then from there, which direction we're facing, we're basically setting an attack animation direction based off of where we're facing and which surface we're on. From there, once we set the direction, then we can just set, so 0, 1 on the floor, -1 we're going downstairs, 1 we're going upstairs, and based just on this variable, we can set a blend space, which just takes in those three numbers and will change the animation based off of whichever one it is. Now, before, we kind of just did this through code, where, we'd have if statements and stuff deciding which attack it is instead. But now, we basically compress all of this code into this one line, which combines with the animation tree, where, like, I can show again that, I guess for the player too, same functionality as before, but now it lets me do it really cleanly and stuff too, and I can show this working for the enemy too. I program it to, like, basically in the same way where, oh, you're not supposed to do that. That's a little bug. He's not supposed to be able to switch it, directions like that. I gotta fix that. But, in large part, yeah, or like that, You see how it's able to just switch directions and stuff like that? That's because of the state machine and the kind of easier way it does it. I think it could kind of do it before too, but this way is better. I'm saying this is the better stuff. What else? That's mainly the state machines. A lot of the code is kind of already existing stuff. Like, for instance, my detection component. This was all in the enemy script before. Like, in my enemy script, you can see I had all the detect player shit here. I had all my variables and stuff all in one script. Now I have to put it into a dedicated detection component that's on the enemy, which I put my raycasts in, which can then flip positions that I have in my, like, flip container. And then that, you notice that still tracks. That's still the same as before, but now I kind of divvied it up into its own component, and that actually lets me, giving it up into my own component, lets me customize the sightline raycast for new enemies I want to add. So it doesn't have to be the same raycast every time. I mean, again, I could sort of do that here. But again, this is all for the same script. What this lets me do now is I can basically, like, switch out scripts and stuff here. Or, like, my detection component, now being in its own script, can be applied to things that are not just, like, a different enemy. I could apply it to, like, something else that would use raycast to detect a player. Like, I make, like, a like a missile, I guess, even though this technically wouldn't be the game where missiles would be Fireball is fancy. Yeah. As for components, I split things up into more basic health and hitbox components. I updated. So now our entity class replacing the character. The entity, like, I can get rid of all this action state shit. I don't need that anymore. We're not using action state anymore because of our new state machines. So now that bunch of code I can just use CV remove now because I don't need it anymore. However, stuff like I'm not holding stuff like the take damage or current health or gain health. I'm not holding that in the big long character function anymore. I now have it in its own health component and the way I have the hitbox component set up now, so I can now I can give anything I want health, and I can give anything I want a hitbox. And, you know, if something has health, it's also going to need a hitbox. And I can customize the hitbox some. So if this hitbox is going to be used for an attack, like I have on the enemy and the player, I can put in whichever attack resource I want in there, which I'll get into in a second. But if this is going to be set up to, like, as a hurt box, I put on the health component and is the hurt box. And basically, the only way we deal damage to something is if that hitbox component is flagged as a hurt box and has a health component attached to it. Then we can do that. I should probably check if health component is actually if it has a hurt box, if itself isn't that, and if health if the area dot health component is not equal to null and there. Okay, that's better. Now, if I didn't set a health component onto that thing, it won't freaking break. It should work. Yeah, works fine. Long attack cooldown. Yeah. Next, the attacks. Not super complicated. Another, if you know what resources are, pretty simple. I have... Where did I put the scripts? Here. Just an attack resource, name, damage, cooldown, which I can use, which I use in multiple places. Like the, I attach the attack here onto our attack function. Which attack I want to put on that attack state I slap on here, and the hitbox itself also uses that same one and puts it on there. I do want to eventually set up enemies having multiple attacks, and the players having multiple attacks, so having it with resources and stuff right here, and having which attack you can have kind of plug in, lets me in the future set up having different attacks and choosing between that a little more easily with the way it is now, especially having more separated components and stuff. Like, basically, how the game is now is it's a lot less stuffy. Everything's a lot more spread out, so I can play and pick with pieces more. Like, I redid the player, like, as you can see, it's a different scene here, and I remade all of it, and remaking all of it and getting it to work in the same way has been a lot easier. Like, I did it in, like, a couple minutes. Because setting up the states and the other stuff makes making new characters now super easy. As opposed to if I wanted to make something new before, then I'd have to rewrite a lot of the functionality and whatnot. I'm repeating myself a lot. What else? That's mostly it. In the state, when redoing everything as well. Stuff like you notice there's no this is a much less version of the game as it is right now. I'm gonna kind of redo I'm redoing how everything interacts with each other. Like, there's no objects here. I need to redo the player being able to get objects. Like, I don't have a detection component for them here, so I'll probably make something like that later down. But yeah, once I get the rest of the game working with these new, more scalable systems, I'll work on actually adding. I'll at the same time, the next version will include new content stuff too. I can show off. No, I can't. I don't think I can. It's not gonna work. Okay. I was working on. I guess I'll just say it. I can't really show it off because it's not gonna work in this. But I added levers and shortcuts for ladders. So basically, ladders are now triggerable, where you can flick a lever to make the ladder go down and whatnot. I'll better showcase that in whatever next devlog I make when I can actually get interacting with objects functioning again. Something to look forward to if you're interested. There's more stuff I plan to add. I guess I'll tease. I'm planning on adding stuff like doors and more enemy types too. More customizable enemies as well. I'm considering if I want to start messing with enemy spawners or not. But that's kind of more down the line stuff. I want to make the next version update not be super huge. The super huge stuff is mainly gonna make the actual finished state of this version and the next version is gonna seem like nothing changed at all, but it's actually a lot different under the hood with the new systems and stuff, which is what this devlog is for, to actually show I did change the systems. You wouldn't be able to see it otherwise. But yes, that's the gist of it. Yeah. So, I still have not thought of an outro. Bye.